Chris and Sabrina with The Link. Here on Breeze 93.9 FM.
So unwind to the sweet reggae music, girl, you're mine. Don't worry about the little things, 'cause girl, it's fine. Me say me gonna love you long time. Yeah, 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 yeah. Night and day, I'll love you forever. You're my queen, I'll cherish forever. Take my hand, you will see that you and me were meant to be. Yes, I love the way I move your body, girl, so unwind to the sweet reggae music, girl, you're mine. Don't worry about the little things, 'cause girl, it's fine. Me say me gonna love you long time. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, I love the way I move your body, girl, so unwind to the sweet reggae music, girl, you're mine. Don't worry about the little things, 'cause girl, it's fine. Me say me gonna love you long time. Yeah, 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 yeah. One second. think she'd be sacred for you at night. Said a love will last forever, together you and I. Let's join our as one, our love for I and I. Many battles to overcome, go for you, I will die. I mean, at this shining armor, we will fight until the end. Our love will surely go, it's not the hard to comprehend. Let me love you, girl, in a very special way. Let me hold your hand and let the adventure begin. Me love the way you love to love me. You keep me moving on and on. Yes, I love the way you move your body, girl. So unwind to the sweet reggae music, girl. You're mine. Don't worry about the little things, just girl, it's fine. Me said me gonna love you long time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yes, I love the way you move your body, girl. So unwind to the sweet reggae music, girl. You're mine. Don't worry about the little things, just girl, it's fine. Me said me gonna love you long time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, night and day, I'll love you forever. You're my queen, I'll cherish forever. Take my hand, you will see that you and me were meant to be. Yes, I love the way you move your body, girl. So unwind to the sweet reggae music, girl. You're mine. Don't worry about the little things, cause girl, it's fine. Me said me gonna love you long time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yes, I love the way you move your body, girl. So unwind to the sweet reggae music, girl. You're mine. Don't worry about the little things, cause girl, it's fine. Me said me gonna love you long time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Chris and Sabrina with The Link here on Breeze 93.9 FM.
Shaking on your knees, you do not need a plan, just be a real man. If you're feeling it touching you, then you got it on. Touching and you're feeling wondering, but been pleasing her return. You got it, Sandra, but come say you wanna. You say you wanna dance with me, come on and dance. Be a straight man, grab her by the hand. Get up on the floor, she be walking out the door. You're feeling irate, stop shaking on your knees. You got the master plan, so I be the real man. Know you got it on, touching up, feeling up, bubbling up, pleasing up everyone. Everyone come dance like me. So dance with me now. To the lead,
The music is playing, the beat is bumping. I'm so nervous that my heart is pumping. My legs are shaking, my hands are sweating. I wanna dance, but I don't have a chance. You gotta be a man and put your foot down and go up to her and ask us to dance. When you move your body, touch your body, feel your body, get your body, move your body, touch your body, feel your body.
everyone come dance like me.
Move your body, touch your body, feel your body, get your body, move your body, touch your body, feel your body, get your body, move your body, touch your body, feel your body,
Everyone come dance like me.
move your body, touch your body, feel your body,
To the lead,
get your body.
be a straight man, grab her by the hand. Get up on the floor, she be walking out the door. You're feeling irate, stop shaking on your knees. You got the master plan, so I be the real man. Know you got it on, touching up, feeling up, rubbing up, pleasing up everyone. Everyone come dance like me. So dance with me now. To the lead, da.
Die sombranza e zu te saluda antes di niga razzaus en malak estrezas durante in todo in memu a no distancia como kupugi palu zaniman malak guafi ikonum nasugi airi prebatu la noci nai banderata caighi pues atan fanni bandera co esta pagua pumalalapa gilo tanu man libri sentamiti man ko badi.
Fanogi chamoru politanota kantai matuno nyagitoru iluga para iona
come and get your love, come and get your love now. Come and get your love, come and get your love, come and get your love now. Come and get your love, come and get your love, come and get your love now. Come and get your love. 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 Hey, hey, what's the matter? You feel right? Don't you feel right, baby? Hey, hey, oh yeah. Get going, right, all right. La 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 la. Come and get your love. La 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 la. Come and get your love. La 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 la. Come and get your love. La 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 la. Come and get your love. Come and get your love.
All right, let's do it.
Come and get your love. Come and get your love. Come and get your love.
Good morning, Guam. Good morning. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jason.
That was a little abbreviated this morning.
I'm excited. I want to get right into the show.
Considering the history that was made last night.
Right, yeah, we made history, so I just wanted to get it over with.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
let's get Oh, Lord. Is that what kind of show we're going to have today?
Have a day. Welcome
I
to the
don't
link.
know,
We'll be right
is it?
back.
Yeah, right, we're here with the link. Good morning, everybody. Fine. Yeah, definitely a historical congressional runoff election happened yesterday, and the winner, and still,
And still,
there you go, Congressman Michael Nicholas with the big win over his challenger, former Congressman Robert Underwood. Was it a
landslide, technically.
what? No, was it a bigger margin than in the general?
No, I don't think so. This was he won by like over 3,000 or so of votes. I want to say the general.
I think it was the same in the general.
I think he had at least a 15% lead over Dr.
Right,
Underwood.
yeah. But anyway, so that's what happened while you guys were sleeping. The results were actually in, I want to say, kind of early.
Right about 12:30.
Yeah. Okay. And if you're keeping score, our kind of closest to the wall competition that we had between the four of us here in the studio, I was saying I thought we were going to be completely done with all the voting tabulations by 2. Sabrina, not so optimistic. She was saying like around 4. Chris said 1. So, you know, Adriana did her last live shot at about 12:45. So, Chris, you win. So you have one.
What did I say?
You said 1 o'clock we'll be done, and then they got done at about
He's so not into this.
12:30.
Yeah.
So you did.
There was
win.
an election? What happened? I went to sleep. Because, you know, the last election, forever. We're here all night, right? Mm-hmm. Went the whole way, did like a 12-hour. I never broadcasted that. I've never broadcasted that long before. Hey, it was 12 hours.
And then we went straight into the link.
Right. So this election, I was like, you know, we got Adriana. She got it. Send the young guns out there. She already caught COVID. Sorry.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm just going to go to
the
sleep.
The Nobel Committee is on line 1, you know, with your humanitarian award there, my friend.
Yeah, I know. But good job, Adriana Katara and Jake Sablon there. Is it? Yeah, it was pretty quick. The results, and Bree, were you up, like, paying attention? Like, did St. Nicholas come out with a lead from the beginning?
Jump, yeah.
Right.
And you know what? 31.03% voter turnout rate, which was decidedly
lower
than even what we got in the general, which
and
itself
that was
the
the
really
lowest
low.
ever in the general.
Wow.
And meanwhile, in the American states, they saw the highest voter turnout.
Like 160 million.
Yeah,
or
so it
something
like flipped around. Usually Guam, we set the standard, but I don't know what the reason was, crappy candidates or COVID or or whatever. But that was the word yesterday from everybody that I talked to who went to go vote, was that it was really, really slow, really, really low voter turnout.
Also really interesting, and I know our analysts are in the Zoom room. We're going to completely break down exactly what happened last night and why and where we go from here. So, we got a great panel as always. But, Adriana was doing her live hit, so maybe like at around, she had 1 at 10. She said she and our camera guy, Jake Sablon, they literally walked into the field house at like 9:50 to set up and do, bandwidth checks and everything like that. As soon as they walked in, the GEC handed them results, and they're like, okay, we got 1 batch. And she's like, oh, for real? I mean, that, professionalism, she's like, for real.
Like for real.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for real.
Exactly. And then maybe about 45 minutes later, she had another hit, and then she called me, and she's like, and then Nestor was in our WhatsApp group chat saying, hey, guys, we got this invite because Dr. Underwood is going to make some sort of statement, didn't say what. And then we found out that maybe only about an hour and change into this thing, he already made what essentially was a concession speech.
Right.
I have never seen that happen that quickly.
Well, I think if,
it was
Matt...
54 out of 67 precincts. That's when he made the concession speech.
So that was still with 13. That was kind of deep in, though, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, really, really rapid, though. But a lot of people, and, at the end of the night, Delegate St. Nicholas's crowd. I mean, if you ever wondered that if animated GIFs work on Facebook, the St. Nicholas supporters, they proved that. We got SpongeBob animated GIFs jumping up and down. We got, Bruce Lee flexing and everything like that. And then when Dr. Underwood made his, like we just said, his concession speech and everything like that, a lot of his supporters were going there and saying, that was nice of him, that was gracious, that was, they felt that was some sort of closure to, their going on like 6 month support of his campaign.
Right. Yeah. Good run, guys. Good fight.
Come on. The win, you know.
Yeah, it's 6:27. So welcome to this episode of The Link, Wednesday, November 18th. We're proudly brought to you by Dial Rentone, the Thrive Coalition, Carrier, Cabo Select Care, where federal employees and annuitants, it's the 2020 federal benefits open season. Enroll now until December 14, 2020. Call 477-9808 for more info. Also brought to you by Burger King, Calvo Enterprises, and IT&E. Good morning. So here's what's coming up on the show. This morning, we're going to get our hospital update, of course. Catholic Social Services is doing a big donation drive. We'll talk with Lisa from CSS. Education Superintendent John Fernandez is coming on, so we'll talk to him about Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio was on yesterday, and he was saying that, and I think John has said this, that they're going to use some of this CARES money to provide internet access, and then to families of students who are doing the whole online learning thing. And then Lieutenant Governor yesterday had said that they were also considering a subsidy. Right. So we'll ask John Fernandez about that. And also Ed Byrne, the administration director. Yes, right. Also coming on, but we got an election to report on, and then we've got our panelists. Just a bunch of different people that we've had on over the last few months for the after party coming together to discuss the results of this historic congressional runoff. And that's coming up here on the way. But first, let's go ahead and get into the news. You want to get into the news? Because we usually read all of our Facebook comments, but, and we'll do that later.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that later. Let me just message this guy.
Mm-hmm. So I'll just go over the results. Congressman St. Nicholas will serve a second term as Guam's delegate in Washington, D.C. after handily defeating his opponent, Congressman Dr. Robert Underwood. Just after 12:30 this morning, the GEC completed tabulations of Tuesday's runoff election. The unofficial final results were St. Nicholas receiving 10,326 votes over Underwood's 6,996 votes. Voter turnout was 31%, with 17,355 people who cast a ballot. Just before midnight, Underwood delivered a concession speech thanking his supporters and family.
And I want to thank them for their energy and for their good wishes. And I hope that the disappointment of this evening will not stay with them, but the great memories of being involved in this endeavor will. I want to also note the love and the care and the tremendous effort given by a team of volunteers Nobody, they all came together and they did something magical in a short period of time. And I want to acknowledge them. And many of them are known to all of you, and some of them are surrounding me right now. And it's just a great feeling to know that you have people on your side who are willing to just do all that they can. And to my family, and especially my children and grandchildren who are on island, Ramon and Jerissa, and Sophia and Christine. Of course, we have other children that are not that are off island, and we also thank them for their love and support. But the ones that are on island, of course, endeavor to do many things together. Last, I want to thank this woman here, Narissa. Helped not only bring out the best in me, I think she brought out the best in the campaign, and best of all of us in the campaign. And so we are really grateful, and I'm personally grateful for her presence and her urging of us to pray regularly, which we did. You know, to the Lord above is Sainatas. And I use the word Isaina because in Chamorro that's the fountainhead, and it was his guidance that led us to offer an alternative to the kind of representation that we are getting today. Honesty, and I say this with all sincerity. A lot of people think these are just words, you know. Honesty, integrity, and trust are not just words. They are the values of a great people. They're the values that have been given to us from above, and they've been values that have been passed on to us for many generations. We devoted our campaign to those values, and we continue to devote our personal effort to those values. And those values endure even though the campaign came up short. And so my desire for justice and fairness will continue. It is my personal commitment of public service to pursue those values and to pursue fairness and justice will continue to motivate me, and hopefully Narissa as well, as we continue to figure out what other kind of public service we do and we engage in. And we'll continue to do that in spite of all the things and all the statements that have been made. So on behalf of myself and Narissa and our campaign and our families, I want to say, Undongklu nasitus maasit, maraming salamat po to all of you who were involved in this campaign, and all of you who helped us nurture these values and these strengths. These are enduring values. They will serve us well. And all of us will be assessed by those values, in accordance with those values at one time or other in our lives. So thank you very much. I'm conceding early. Of course, there could be a miracle of how the results turn around. And conceding doesn't mean that it changes the vote total. The vote total is going to be what it is. But in all seriousness, it's pretty obvious where we're going, and I don't want people to kind of go through any more drama for this. There's already enough drama in life, and yes, of course I experienced charges that I'm too old to do anything anymore, and at first I thought it was humorous, but there's some danger in that. There really is some danger in that, the level of disrespect that is given to elders today is unconscionable. I have to say that. Those of you who wanted to criticize me for not having the same ideas or having the same priorities, that's all fair game. Or even saying that my record is spotty, you know, he didn't do anything for 10 years in Congress. Those are all kind of part. But to criticize me for being old, my gosh, how times have changed. And for those of you who did that, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Hamzo mantay mamahlo. You don't really know you really have no respect for your elders if you do that. And that's really the one sort of that has to be the saddest lesson that I learned coming out of this campaign, because I'm in relatively good health, and I can do this, and everybody in Washington D.C. who's in authority is way older than me, so I don't know what the big deal is.
I don't. Again, the results from the runoff election. Congressman Michael St. Nicholas will serve a second term as Guam's delegate in Washington, D.C. According to the unofficial final results, Congressman St. Nicholas garnered 10,326 votes, while Congressman Robert Underwood received 6,996 votes. Voter turnout was 31%, with 17,355 people who cast a ballot. And those are the results.
All right, we'll take a really quick break at 6:36. Again, this is The Link on the Breeze. We're KUAM FM and Agatnia, Guam, and more is coming up next. Good morning.
The holidays are almost here, and we could all use an extra dose of cheer and joy this year. So, we're breaking the rules and giving you a holiday head start on Breeze 93.9 FM. Throughout the months of October and November, listen to the special holiday head start blocks of all the season's favorites from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. and again from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Let's try to make spirits bright and make this the most wonderful time of the year. Happy holidays from Breeze. Holiday Head Start is brought to you by Mariana's Coating, specializing in roof repair and more. Call 483-3967 for more information.
Today, the KUAM Care Force is calling upon our island community to come together for Giving Tuesday on December 1st for a safe way to help take care of our island family.
On Tuesday, December 1st, stop through our parking lot in Harmon for our donation drive-through.
We're helping the Salvation Army's holiday campaign. You can drop off your non-perishable food items and gifts for kids and teens to our curbside attendants so we can help ensure your safety.
We'll have holiday entertainment while you wait, refreshments, and other goodies for donors.
And the link will be live on location,
so you can be part of the show.
It's all happening between 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Let's get together and show the world that Guam can still come together for good on Giving Tuesday.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. Uproar Race to 21 Challenge. 2020 is one year we can't wait to put in the rearview mirror. So lace up, get ready, set, and run to 21 with the Guam Rona Challenge. Join the virtual challenge starting now through December 31st. Go at your own pace and select from 100, 2, or the 300-mile challenge. To register, visit runtochallenge.com. Special thanks to KUAM Communications, Trench Challenge, and Kill Cliff. This is an Uproar event. Proceeds benefit the Special Olympics Guam. Thrive, a coalition for a drug-free Dededo, is an active partnership of community members and leaders committed to a vibrant, resilient, and empowered Dededo. It takes a village to raise healthy and drug-free youth. Thrive with us. Find us online or email thrive@westcare.com.
The Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace is kicking off on Sunday, November 29th, showcasing local vendors, crafts, and gift-giving ideas to get your holiday shopping season going. Watch our Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace special on Sunday, November 29th on KUAM TV8 and Facebook Live with lots of interactive features and giveaways. Then find all the vendors featured on KUAMChristmasPops.com. The program will be encore through December on demand and on the stations of KUAM Communications. There is still time to become a vendor. Visit KUAM.com or email BettyAnn@KUAM.com to find out how. On November 29th, let's check off Christmas lists and support our local economy while doing it. The Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace is presented by Stroll Courier. Get all your packages, documents, and gifts.
Sa panahon ng pandemya ng COVID-19, kailangan ng kooperasyon ng bawat isa. Kailangan natin mapanatiling malakas ang katawan at sumunod sa mga alituntunin ng gobyerno para ligtas ang lahat. Ang distansyang 6 feet bawat isa ay laging susundin, lalo na sa mga pagtitipon. Panatiling magsuot ng face mask sa labas ng bahay, lalo na sa mga pampublikong lugar. Maghugas ng mga kamay gamit ang sabon sa loob ng 20 seconds. Kung walang tubig at sabon, gumamit ng hand sanitizer na hindi bababa ng 60% alkohol. Maglinis at magdisinfekta ng mga madalas na hinahawakan. Iwasang hawakan ng mukha mo. Manatili sa bahay kung may sakit. Tulungan na mabawasan ang paglaganap ng COVID-19 sa pamamagitan ng pag-download ng Guam COVID Alert app sa App Store o Google Play. Protektahan ang sarili, ang iyong mga mahal sa buhay at ang mga mamamayan. Ang pag-iwas ay nakapagliligtas ng buhay. Para sa karagdagang impormasyon, mangyari makipag-ugnayan sa 311 o bisitahan ang aming website sa dphss.guam.gov.
You're watching The Link with Chris and Sabrina on TV 11, but don't leave yet because we're coming up next on CBS This Morning.
We got your 6.
At 6 a.m. with The Link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6. I'm getting headphone shamed in here. See what had happened was my headphones blew out on one side. And I don't want the show to be one-sided, guys. Hold on, Jay.
So in other words, what you're saying is your head is literally too big for the show now.
Yeah, it's grown a little bit over the last 8 months. Because I was out of the game. I was out of the radio game for a while. And now guess who's back? A little too excited for that. But anyway, so yeah, I blew out my headphones. So Joser's teasing my... And what else is going to go wrong today?
It looks like you're...
His headphones blew out after I read the results.
Yeah, it was just
you notice that, everybody?
And it was all fine. And then Sabrina read the results, and I was like, ah! And it was like, boom. Oh, it is what it is. 646 on this.
Tissue. There's a box of tissue for you.
Come on. I'm a big boy.
Man, you need the tissue.
I cried all my tears out years ago. Just a dry well in there now. No, congratulations, Congressman St. Nicholas. I got to say, though, I think the writing was on the wall with the general election, and we're going to talk about, our thoughts on this election. Thanks, here. Thank you, guys. Thank you. No, I'm fine, really. It's okay.
Can we have some music for this? All alone on a Sunday morning. Outside I hear the rain is falling.
It's okay, guys. I'm okay, really.
Now, literally.
Don't all ask at once.
And
guys.
he's all cried out over you.
I just had Fernandez in my eye.
Shout out to Lisa and Full Force and Cult Jam, by the way.
Are we?
People are saying the audio's kind of low.
Okay. Well, it's because I got these wimpy headphones on now. How about now? Say something.
Hi.
Okay.
The results are St. Nicholas 10,326, Underwood 6,996.
Man. Let's go to the KUAM News Zoom room. Hey, it's all in good fun. I mean, hey, it is what it is. These guys. So we're going to the Zoom room here where we've assembled.
What, you forget
okay
what's going
there?
on? Yeah, I'm just laughing.
It is pretty humorous, pretty funny. Where we have assembled a panel of the best and brightest. Well, we wanted to assemble a panel of the best and brightest, but unfortunately they were all busy this morning, so we got these guys. JK. And we'll go ahead and start here. It's kind of looking like Brady Bunch. We have Julian Jansen of Progressive Democrats. We've got Sean Gumatauta, who wore a lot of hats. He's been a communications guy for the Camacho administration, Homeland Security, just the whole. You guys know he's done a lot of stuff. And then we have Republican Senator and former congressional candidate, Senator Will Castro. We have Juan Carlos Benitez, who's the national committee man for the Republican Party of Guam. We have Jonita Kerr, Joni, who is from the Fanogi Coalition. We have Sandra Regis Seau, former senatorial candidate on the Republican side. And then we have the former Assistant Secretary of the Department of Interior, Tony Babauta here. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Joni? Good morning, Joni.
Unmute.
Yeah, unmute.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to stay unmuted now?
No, yeah, just get unmuted. Let's go. Julian, good morning,
right.
Julian.
Morning.
You all right, Julian? We have the same headphones, I see. We got the same headphone sponsor.
Okay.
So really, I guess we'll just start with, let's start with Juan Carlos, who's drinking coffee from his Trump cup. Talk about product placement. Juan, you have been a smiling man in this Zoom room you were like the first one in.
He was ready.
It's been a good afternoon here in Washington, and so I've been enjoying the wins, and I want to congratulate Young Kim former Guam resident, for winning her congressional race in Orange County. And also, we had a second win in Orange County, also to another Korean American, a good friend of Guam, also Ms. Young. So it's excited to hear about those. We ended up with so far a pickup of 9 congressional seats in Congress, lowering the difference between Republicans and Democrats to 12 members. So it's been a good day. You know, in the case of Guam, unfortunately, the primary was between 2 Democrats, and it ended up in a lower turnout. Not many people showing up to vote. I think that it means that the Republicans bring the excitement.
Juan, I mean, it's no secret the Republicans, both the party and then with some of the senators and yourself, have enjoyed a really close relationship with Congressman San Nicolas. I mean, he shouts the Republicans out more than he does the Democrats. So, I mean, from your perspective, is this a win for the Republican Party in Guam?
Not necessarily, but it's a win to bipartisanship. I would have to say the Congressman San Nicolas has been open to working in a bipartisan manner with the Republican Party of Guam, including Senator Will Castro, who we work together on the war reparations issues in Guam. And it is good to see that continue. You know, as we move forward, we hope that will continue. And recently, and in fact, that our last interview, the speaker said that she was now willing to join the party of trying to have bipartisanship and working together to get Guam's things accomplished.
Right, yeah. And let's go over to Senator Will Castro. Senator, just first of all, with these results, is this what you anticipated, or were you expecting a different outcome?
I definitely didn't expect such a low voter turnout. I wasn't able to analyze the precinct by precinct results, so I'm very curious. You know, it wasn't a surprise for me to see Underwood concede early if he was tracking the first 5 precincts that were reported. So there's some soft spots for Mr. San Nicolas, but if Mr. Underwood wasn't able to convert, then the writing's on the wall. So no, absolutely, it was a poor turnout. I mean, you're talking about 30% voter turnout compared to the primaries and the generals of the years past. And so there are a lot of reasons for that, obviously. 1, COVID, that's obvious. 2, not as many candidates coming out. 3, was there enough of a reason for the electorate to show up to the polls to vote? Did Mr. Underwood give a compelling argument that he was the better choice? And maybe some felt that their gods were lost, or there wasn't enough of an incentive to come
out. Sean?
You know, I woke up this morning and I was trying to get my head wrapped around the Election Commission results, around 4:30 this morning. For 70 years, this community has been voting for its offices and folks that are going to represent them. It wasn't, but it's less than 50 years ago that we started to elect governors, and then the legislature and all the like started to be a little bit different in the complexion of how elections are done. But when you look at the numbers, when I was just going back, the last time there was something even remotely this small, we were talking about it right before we jumped on the call, it was 2000 that we saw a voter turnout for a primary that was just around 42%. And even at the time when we were having the discussions, we were just wondering, like, what was the cause of it? It's kind of strange that now, 20 years later, we're seeing not only a low voter turnout for a general election, in the lowest in the history, and then a runoff, which would only be the second time that it's been done for any election since, again, we started voting for our representative offices in almost 70 years ago. It's an interesting state of affairs. What does the next 10 years bring for all of us, and how are elections going to be done? How do people view the idea of electing their representatives? I was saying yesterday, it's going to take at least a year for us all to kind of sit there and look at what happened and what can we do as a community, or at least in terms of the parties, and maybe even just the electorate itself, and how they want to move forward with electing their representatives to these offices. And yeah, kudos to Mike San Nicolas for winning. Kudos for the people of Guam for listening and enduring all of the campaigns and the signs that are all over the roads and all those things that are associated with elections. It's now over, and the real work now will begin in terms of moving the island forward, especially during these very challenging and extraordinary times.
Yeah, Sean, you do raise some interesting points because I think this election was about more than just San Nicolas versus Underwood. It was really, to me, a test about what type of campaigning, what type of interaction the voters are willing to accept from not just candidates, but from their elected representatives. So we'll come back to that. Though, let's go with Julian. Julian, I don't know if you're choked up this morning or... We made a joke that you were up all night stabbing your Mike San Nicolas voodoo doll.
No. No, actually, I went to sleep a little bit late, and I have a little bit of a, I don't know, throat thing and a little, anyway, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
A little cold. Anyway, no, I was not that surprised by the outcome, of course, because it's pretty close to what it would have been on the expectation that there's one less candidate, and the rates of support seem to roughly the same, a little here, a little there. The turnout, of course, is abysmal, and that is understandable because there wasn't a long period of where people would have a chance to come and vote, but surprisingly, it didn't seem to affect the overall rates that or conversion rates, if you will, that each of the candidates was able to secure. I was personally a bit disheartened about the way the congressman was acting through surrogates to make racially divisive attacks in recent days. I thought that was very disappointing, and I think it's unfortunate that people were not able to see exactly what is really going on with the congressman and how destructive he is to the community and how he hasn't really been helping the people of Guam in the way that he would like to represent himself as helping. But that's sort of what's to be expected in a low information situation where you have a congressman who has been absent and where he's over there, and a lot of people don't really know what's going on the federal level, and it's very hard to penetrate that. So I'm not that surprised about the outcome.
Yeah. Very, very interesting points, Julian. I totally agree. Low information. I mean, no access. Those are pretty relevant issues, and I think it really explains why we see a lot of people with this messaging that Congressman San Nicolas has done more than any other congressman we've ever had put together. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, low information. Information is key. If you don't have a well-informed electorate, then they're going to do things like elect Donald Trump. Anyway, just kidding, Juan Carlos. Let's go on to Joni Kerr of the Finogi Coalition. Of course, the Finogi Coalition. Did you guys endorse former Congressman Underwood?
No, thank you for inviting me today. Buenas. Yeah, no, the Finogi Coalition did not endorse Underwood. We actually do not officially endorse any candidates, political candidates. But as we stated in our last forum, we were able to get some representatives of our organizations online and in the Zoom room and on a virtual meeting that played out on Facebook. And we did some of those organizations did endorse Underwood. One of them was the GCC Eagle Warriors. So I actually did a little that we were kind of that the incumbent would be successful in a runoff. A runoff election is really difficult to pull off, and especially if you're running against an incumbent. But it looks like I know we had the percentage, 31% only came out, but 10,920 people who voted in the general election did not show up for the runoff. So, I mean, that's huge. 10,920 didn't come back. And so to me, when I saw the general election turnout, yes, it was disappointing, but I was kind of hoping that the ones that did show for the general election would, kind of rally and support the candidates. I mean, they both lost out about almost pretty evenly with their voters. Both did not get the same number, or of course the same number of votes, but MSN lost out on about 2,700, a little less than 2,700 voters, and Underwood lost out on about 2,300 voters who did not show up. So I just a little, kind of disappointed, but not really surprised.
Sandra.
But we're
Oh, go ahead, Johnny. Finish up.
We're hoping that things will play out, eventually. I'm actually hoping that because of all the messaging that's been going on through Facebook, that, I'm sure you guys have noticed the Facebook wars, that hopefully the congressman's office and the congressman will realize that there are people here on Guam who are really watching him closely. And we are cognizant of sources that are keeping track of his record. And so we're going to be, kind of watching how he plays out the rest of his term. And really, you know what? 2 years is not that long. 2 years flew by, and 2 more years, if he manages to stay in 2 more years, not that long.
Sandra?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're texting. You ran on the Republican side, and I know you said that your Gazu didn't make it, and so you're rooting for San Nicolas to win.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what did you make of this big win for Congressman Mike San Nicolas?
I was excited, and I told his staffers, because I did go out to some of the polling stations. I have my MSN shirt and did the wave at Chalampago and in Manila, and I told the staffers, that I didn't vote for MSN during the general. I had to go with Will Castro. But with the runoff, I had to go with MSN. So I was excited to support him, and I'm excited he won.
What were your reasons for supporting MSN, the congressman?
Because the reason why I supported MSN is he's already in there, and honestly, with all our elected officials, to me, I feel that he has served our island during this pandemic. He's the only one who has helped the people of our island. He's gotten all these funding. I mean, we can't help it what happens when the funding gets here, but I felt that he helped us, with the executive branch and our legislative branch, and he's done the most work so far.
Tony. Unmute.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Right on. How are we feeling today?
The entire Brady bunch. Good morning.
Okay, let us have it, Tony.
There's so many topics that everyone discussed. I don't think I disagree with kind of some of the early post-election analysis about voter turnout. Being able to, the challenge from the candidates to be able to motivate their voters and the electorate to come out, the drop off in participation between the general election and the runoff. That's a challenge. I would imagine during a non-COVID time, and during this pandemic, it's an even greater challenge. I was very impressed by Mr. Underwood's campaign. I thought he did a lot to try and get out his message, both on social media, traditional media, seemingly, making himself available. I was disappointed that there was no debates. I thought, when you talk about informing the electorate, I thought that would have been good for everyone to understand where the two candidates, where the positions are and how they oppose each other. And that may have motivated more people to come out and vote. A disappointing turnout. Everyone's going to try to, run the analysis in the days and the weeks ahead and just before the next election to try and figure out if we continue to face what we face today, how to rally the troops and rally your supporters and bring people over, to your camp and vote for you. Interesting election.
Can I say something? I did like watching the debates within Will Castro and Underwood. And I don't blame MSN for not attending some of them. But I did tell Underwood that, I started watching him when he started going live on Facebook. But when he started attacking MSN, that's when I stopped watching. And I only watched snippets of him going live here and there when he wasn't attacking MSN. We want to hear about what they're going to do, not about what the other person's doing, So MSN has these cases against him. And to me, just as long as he's working for the people of our island and showing results, even though a person should have the integrity and all that great stuff, what he does in his personal life, to me, that's his personal business, and that it shouldn't be coming out, just as long as he's doing something for our island and showing results. That's all that matters to me. And all this attacking, that was just a turn off.
I'd like to say something. I think that for a freshman congressman within months of taking office to be investigated by the Office of Congressional Ethics for having relationships with or a relationship with a congressional staffer, misuse of campaign funds, and the list goes on and on. There's so much. There are other things there, but I mean, this is not to be taken lightly. This is not really his personal life. These are things that Congress actually takes seriously. Otherwise, they wouldn't have launched an ethics investigation. This is not merely him having a mistress. This is a mistress who is on the staff, on the congressional staff, and this is against the rules. This is against the law. It is also against the law to misuse federal funds or campaign funds. So I'm sorry, this is not his personal life. And also, being a congressman, a politician, you kind of give up your personal life. So you have to, in my estimation, a congressman has to embody integrity, honesty, has to be trustworthy. And so somebody who comes into office and faces these violations almost, within their first year, it's a red flag. And yes, they haven't been proven yet, but the ethics subcommittee is still investigating. And so, whatever they decide or come up with, of course, we'll abide by, but really the red flag, it's a big red flag. And I don't think that people here on Guam understood that this is not his personal life.
Yeah, I think the people of Guam were like, yeah, way to go, Maguette. Hey, you got a check, man.
You're correct. You're correct. But if he did use campaign funds and all that great stuff, then yes. But it hasn't been proven. So
anybody? Go ahead, guys. Free for all. You can unmute yourselves and discuss this.
One more thing.
And
I know, because I do have to leave.
I mean,
I've got another meeting to go to. But the Finogi Coalition did invite the congressman to come in, and by the way, these were not debates; they were forums. There were questions asked of the candidates, not really a debate format, but they would have been really easy for the congressman to attend. We also bent over backwards to get the message to him, and also to have him at a time when he would be available, even if he was a DC time. So and we never got a response from him. So I think there are people here who are kind of amazed that he would decline those invitations. And then even more, that he declined an invitation to debate from, was it KUAM that offered to run the debate? It wasn't Finogi, but in any case, a debate format would have been, is something that people look forward to so they can get to know their candidates. And for somebody to decline and then turn it around and say that they're being bullied, that just kind of blows my mind. He centers the thoughts on himself, and it's another red flag to me.
Robert Underwood, a bully. That is the craziest. I don't know. It flew. People ate it up. The Sandri ate that up, right?
Ate what up?
That Underwood is a bully, and that's why St. Nicholas didn't want to debate anybody.
Oh, come on. He was on Facebook talking a lot of trash. That was a big turnoff. So I didn't want to watch him no more. Will Castro ran an awesome campaign. He didn't have to, degrade anybody or talk trash about somebody else, He concentrated on himself and what he was going to do.
Juan Carlos?
Yes. But for me, there are a couple of things here. And Jonita, yes, allegations are extremely serious. The charges that are being investigated and proven to be true are devastating, not just on his political career, but on his family. But we also need to figure a way that we need to at least give our elected officials the benefit of the doubt and not condemn them. Right now here in our group, we have Will Castro, who was subject to accusations when he was running on his first election that were proven to be wrong regarding his college degree in going to Harvard or not. We have Tony Babauta, who had allegations being brought up against him that proved not to be true either. And it affected and impacted their careers. Will lost that election. Tony resigned from the administration in frustration, and we don't stand by our own people. So give the benefit of the process, let the process run itself. And trust me, they're very serious in the way that they're doing and what their investigation are looking at. And if it is true, shame on them and they're going to suffer the consequence. But for us to make pre-decisions of they're guilty or not on these issues has significant impact and effect, not on them, on their family and their future. So I would be very careful, and I don't want to fall into that trap. For me, we judge an individual on what he's doing and his ability to perform or not to perform. San Nicolas did a lot of good, and not everything he's done is good. He's not his personality is sort of unique. He has this love relationship with Chris that we see every day. But reality is somehow he figured a way. He figured a way to become vice chairman of the finance committee in the House as a freshman congressman. That is surprising and something that we need to look at. We were able to fix war reparation because he reached out across party lines and got the Republican administration and the Republican Party to support him and the senators. So, that's also weighed in.
Wow, well, I wish Juan Carlos would have spoke this highly about you during the primary and the general.
I voted for him.
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead. Unmute.
I can agree that at least what I was hearing from those I was reaching out to, that Mr. Underwood's style wasn't resonating with a lot of folks. And maybe Sandra's, typifying some of that. And those of us who follow politics hold the integrity standard very high. There are exceptions to that rule, right? Remember Defuntun Ongit? He had a very different style in terms of his leadership and integrity issues. So did Mr. Gutierrez. I ran a very different campaign. It wasn't my preferred style of differentiating myself. I definitely disagreed with Mr. Nicholas on the Chamorro political self-determination issue, and I certainly disagreed with him on issues of how we conduct ourselves in terms of building that bridge, right? I mean, not to be too cliche about it. But the reality is I also had differences on my platform pieces with Mr. Underwood, and no disrespect to Joni Kerr, who's a supporter, but I did on many fronts. Unfortunately, you're right. We didn't have the opportunity to debate. And that's where those kinds of questions and answers could be volleyed across, hopefully in a very diplomatic way. But we didn't get that privilege, the privilege to actually ask a question of each other and respond in kind. That didn't happen. We had a 1-minute firestorm, 2-minute firestorm, and that was it. And back to somebody who commented about this, perhaps to the incumbent's credit, perhaps he knew through polling that he was ahead in double digits. Why would you show up to debate when you're already in the lead? That would be the cardinal rule, right? Why debate when you're already ahead? So I don't know what he knows, but what I do know is I didn't have the opportunity, neither did Mr. Underwood, to debate each other. And I think we would have seen a lot of different things. They can attack my record as well. But other than that, I don't think Sandra's way off base in terms of the general sentiment for a lot of people out there. I'm not saying that's my sentiment, definitely not my position. But a lot of people out there saw that as a semblance of the politics of the past. And I made no mistake about it. I told Mr. Underwood I'm voting for him, and I did vote for him. But again, it's not just stylistic. It's perhaps a sentiment of a demographic that's very different from our own.
Sean?
This is going to make it for interesting fodder in my communications classes moving forward when we talk about the use of mass media and the use of social media, especially when it comes to activities like political activities. For me, as I've been listening for the last couple of minutes, when I think back to campaigns of past, and especially at the onset of social media, it was the ground game that pretty much was, tried and tested. And when you see what happened over the last couple of months with Dr. Underwood, kind of employed pretty much the same tactical, game plan, tactical discipline that we would expect of politics in Guam. Obviously, what Congressman San Nicolas has done is changed that. How campaigns, both Republican and Democrat, moving forward, use either different platforms, how they reach different folks. I would disagree with folks thinking that values are not an important issue. Values are very important to our community, and as we start to see, this idea of and I wasn't listening to the barbs. I didn't catch any of those across any of the stuff I was on. So to hear it, I just didn't see it. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. But in terms of the modern election and how it's done, I think we all are going to have to, and on this Zoom call, and everyone listening today are going to be looking at this particular event or this campaign, and this is going to set the tone of what's going to happen probably for the next 10 years and beyond. Yeah, and
I don't know which one of you guys had said, Will, you were saying, maybe he saw the polls and he was ahead, so why would he debate? When we talk about how pivotal this election was, I think it was, like I said earlier, a test of what we're willing to accept from the candidates and elected officials, how we're willing to accept that they deal with us as voters and constituents. And I think this is, I think Congressman San Nicolas is going to take this as a mandate. Joni, you said, maybe he'll see that there are people who are watching his record. I don't think so. I think he's going to look at this and be like, okay, I don't need to talk to the media. I just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to be good. But Sean and Sandra, going back to the tax thing, I'm a little different. I mean, and I was getting some messages from some friends of mine while you were saying that, and they were saying like, yeah, that was a turnoff, Underwood attacking Congressman San Nicolas. And there seems to be this, and you get it when people are really follow an elected leader or a candidate, but this idea that we have to treat them like a baby. Because I don't necessarily think that those were attacks. They were discussions on Congressman San Nicolas's record that he and his supporters framed as negative attacks. But I mean, I'm a grown-up. I think that if you run for office or if you're in office, your record is completely fair game. And I don't think that the Underwood campaign or the San Nicolas campaign, for that matter, went in on a personal level. I think they just discussed these issues that San Nicolas has that are probably a little personal, but they're playing out on the national stage. The national media is reporting on these things. But again, Guam is different. That's one thing that I think Congressman San Nicolas has been able to really key in on his messaging is this idea that everyone is against him and he's the victim. Because it works. It works. It makes people want to, support the boy. They want to go and they want to make sure, don't attack him. But I look at it different. I think that it's fair game. And I think former Congressman Underwood, where he fell short was that when he came out and announced his candidacy, half of his efforts were to kind of, I guess on his side, inform people that all these issues were going on with Congressman San Nicolas. And so he had to do that out of one side of his mouth. And then the other side of his mouth, he had to kind of reintroduce himself to a generation of voters who maybe just knew him as a, university professor or a Chamorro rights activist. And so I think he already started at a deficit, and Congressman San Nicolas's messaging has been the same since he was a senator. I'm with the people. The other politicians are against me because I'm with the people. And you just can't compete with years of messaging by throwing together a campaign, essentially at the last minute during a pandemic. Julian?
Yeah. I was very annoyed, honestly, when I saw people on social media, especially, kind of complaining about Underwood, like doing low blows or attacking Mike San Nicolas. I feel like everything that he actually said was very much a matter of a public record and is reflective of Mike San Nicolas as a politician and as a public servant, and not going into salacious details about his personal life that I am well aware of, that there are additional problems that people who know him know about, and none of that was really gone into. And honestly, I didn't see very much of that. I mean, I saw some nasty things by a few overzealous individuals online, of course, but it's not like the Underwood campaign was encouraging that sort of activity. They were very much focused on what is relevant to voters, and I think that there's some elements of the case, for the ethics that is already kind of admitted to, like the money that was returned to a campaign contributor back in February. And so, some parts of it are not yet vindicated, but some of these things were admitted to tacitly by Mike San Nicolas himself by returning $9,000 to somebody who overpaid. A friend of his, not a friend of a staffer, a friend of his gave so much that he had to give back $9,000. So I don't think that's irrelevant. Anyway.
I have to go in a couple of minutes.
Okay,
but I just want to pick up what Julian said. He still is getting a letter from the Federal Election Commission regarding that donation. His reports to the FEC do not include the original amount that was donated. So the FEC is missing some critical information about that original donation. So he did money, but but it's not clear how much he kept. So they're still on his case about missing information. So, by the way, also Chris, you are correct in saying that the congressman's record is out there in the media. The New York Times reported it. The New York Times is huge. If it's picked up by the Times, whether good or bad, I mean, that's a huge newspaper, big media. So it's, I just feel like it's already an embarrassment to our people. But yes, of course, we're going to see how this plays out. I agree, Juan Carlos, that we do have to wait to see, how this all plays out with the investigation. I don't deny that, we still have to wait. But and also, Robert Underwood's campaign was strictly going after what Mike Nicholas is missing an action on the floor of the House, missing an action with votes, missing an action with actual results, and probably even there's a disingenuousness that he is putting out there, that and it's really misleading to the people of Guam, that he brought in all this money. I mean, this is his campaign machinery now working. He brought in all this money for because of the COVID situation, but really all of that was decided ahead of time and divvied up by the powers that be in Washington. But to take full credit for billions of dollars, that's
what was it? $45.6 gajillion dollars.
Very disingenuous. Huh?
It was like $46.5 gajillion dollars, right?
Yeah, gazillion dollars. It's unrealistic, really. I mean, to think he's making people believe that this is all coming to Guam when it's not. That's being divvied up amongst the territories. So anyway, I do really have to go.
Right on.
And thank you again for inviting me. Wait, one more thing. Sorry. The Finogi Coalition supports Chamorro self-determination, and that is something that Mike Nicholas does not support. He can speak out both sides of his mouth, and I have seen him do this on one of his videotapes. And in the same segment, he spoke out both sides of his mouth, and it's confusing, but he really is not for Chamorro self-determination.
Thank you, Joni.
Okay.
Be safe.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice hike.
You too. I'm good.
You're right. Okay. Okay, it's that. Juan Carlos, let's take it over to you, because I've talked with you over, I think it was in the pandemic, about this investigation, and I mean, Joni's right. If you go on the Federal Election Commission website, I mean, God, it's like they took a red pen to St. Nicholas's. Every report has been amended. He's just, I mean, him and the FEC are pretty much pen pals. But when I talked to you about it, you said it wasn't, really a big deal, that it's kind of common. So just being the DC insider that you are, with this ethics investigation where they've formed a subcommittee to look into these allegations with these, campaign finance issues, do you think that when they do play out, it'll be with the level of seriousness that St. Nicholas's critics would lead us to believe?
Yeah, sorry. I would say before we go there, it's interesting that I agree that most of the credit for the funds from the pandemic for Guam should be given credit to President Trump. And he still lost the election in Guam by only acquiring 40% of the vote, over $1.2 billion in pandemic aid to Guam, and including us in all the vaccines that are coming out, including the new one that was announced today. So now we have 2 vaccines coming into our way, and things are going well. He still lost. So maybe there's something to that, but ethics investigations are a serious thing. It's not a light thing. It's when you're getting a investigation by Congress, it's something that you need to first of all lawyer up, and you need to make sure that you're very careful on your communications. Anything that you say could get you in trouble or not say. You need to make sure that everything squares out. Now, there's a difference between that and letters from the commission regarding inconsistencies or concerns regarding your financials. That happens all the time. I think you're going to see after every single elections, both presidential candidates normally return millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands, not tens of thousands, millions of dollars that have been contributed because you have overzealous donors that want to provide more money or give additional funds, and the campaigns have to return all of that back. You have a number of candidates that will loan themselves or have friends loan them money, and then the commission will decide, no, you're not allowed to accept those as a loan, and then the cap is maxed out, so you need to refund those monies. So does that happen? It happens all the time. You can Google all you want into it. Now, ethics allegations of doing that purposely, of, you're really talking then on a different scale, on a different issue. You even go into criminal, RICO, racketeering. You're trying to do this to benefit yourself in a particular way. So is the FBI investigate those issues? Absolutely, they do. Is that something that needs to be looked seriously? Absolutely. But at this stage, the committee is doing their work. They're investigating the one issue that is clear and is different in DC. If the allegations about the impropriety with these employees are proven, that is an automatic dismissal. That's the rule in the House. I don't see that rules changing under the new administration. Having said that, that was a rule that was installed under Nancy Pelosi, and there's a movement inside the House by AOC and their group to change who's running that, and that might change, but I don't see it changing. I think that that's something that is proven seriously will take anybody down, but let that process run itself. I think keep bringing it up and bringing it up and bringing it up in every single media that they can in Guam doesn't change the fact at the end of the day. Let that process run itself, and we're going to find out. My role is 2 years from now, we're running a candidate. We're going to run a Republican for Congress, and I want that candidate to win, and we want to win based on actions and issues, not just on what people are saying on the back doors that's happening or not happening.
Tony, I want to give you a fair shake because you've spent a good amount of time in the nation's capital. What do you make of this investigation of the FEC issues with Congressman San Nicolas?
Yeah, I don't find much with what Juan Carlos has said to be not the case, right? I mean, you do need to let this investigation run its course. I think the signaling of how serious it has become was when the House Ethics Committee impaneled a subcommittee. That's a very serious step moving forward with that type of investigation. And I don't want to get too much into that because it does need to run its course. But there are serious things there that Mr. San Nicolas will have to continue to deal with as he goes back to DC and resumes office. I appreciate what Juan Carlos said earlier about my investigation. Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. I mean, I did stay during my term in office to finish out the investigation by the Office of Inspector General. I didn't want anyone to think that I was running away from that in the hopes that it would go away. So I stayed throughout that investigation to ensure that I was there to participate in it and that hopefully it came to some finality. And they do ask you or they do inform you during those investigations. The federal investigators will inform you, and it gets very scary to a point that lying to a federal investigator is a crime. So make sure that you don't lie to us, and it'll put goosebumps down your back. But if you're open and you're honest about your actions and what you did do and what you didn't do, then eventually, the truth will set you free in the end. I thought Mr. Underwood ran a campaign based on facts. I mean, even when I talk to my friends and family, the allegations aside and the investigation aside, if I think the people of Guam, and let's apply this to the Guam legislature, the people of Guam had elected a legislator, and that legislator showed up half the time to their job, is that a reason to continue keeping that that legislator on? And it goes the same for a member of Congress. I understand Mr. San Nicolas saying that during the course of his term that there are different priorities that you have to weigh that gives you direction and what meetings to take or what votes to cast and so on and so forth. But even the 50% is unacceptable for our delegate to participate in legislative activities at the national level.
Sean?
Yeah, right before I have to get on to my class at ULG, I just wanted to make this kind of simple point. You know, the election's over. Everything that he said he was going to do over the next 2 years, it's going to be absolutely critical that the electorate and all of the media and all of us on this call are going to make sure that he does it. You're going to, you know, we're going to pretty much root for him, but we'll all be right there, and we'll be very critical of his record. Are we going to say 2 years from now he's being bullied again? I highly doubt that, because now he would have had a full term and now and a half to be able to say, hey guys, I did this. So yeah, it's not just the election's over, but now we'll focus on the work that has to be done. Will he continue his, jumping and trying to tell the executive branch and legislative branch of Guam what to do? I don't know. He might continue because he'll fight for the people, as he says, but it's going to be what he does over the next 2 years. It's really going to be way more critical for him. It's not enough that just to make a lot of promises and platforms and the like. But man, when you look at some of the stuff he was putting out, that's what won him this election, is his vision for the next 2 years. Let's hope that all of us are continuing to encourage him. If not, then we should be being more critical and then making a change where we should.
You know, my biggest concern with this primary is that less than 20% of the electorate decided who's our congressman, one of the most important offices in Guam. And this is a trend that's continuing, and it's expediting Guam, and we need to figure a way we get people back to voting, because if not, we're going to be in a serious problem.
Yeah, no, and I even mentioned, we were talking about seeing the discourse between candidates. I mentioned it yesterday with Serena and Chris, and I'll mention it again. It meant we might have to bring all of the the big five media to do these single events, to hear from their governor candidates, to hear from their delegate candidates, maybe using these opportunities to get insight into other elected officials. But it's going to be, we need to kind of bring it back, and then there'll be no excuses about ensuring that the community or the electorate has been educated, because they would have been given larger platforms to be able to share that message. And instead of because not everybody on Guam has the internet, not everybody on Guam has Facebook, but for some reason there's this thinking that every single person has it. With 160,000, 30,000, 55,000 in the electorate, if only 30 or 40,000 have the internet, we might need to rethink of how we do these types of activities moving forward. And then, I think that should be done in the next cycle for sure.
Right, Sean, and I don't think it's a question of every voter having the internet. I think it's a question of enough voters having the internet to win, and I think that's was a big part of, and it is a big part of Congressman San Nicolas's support. Will, I know you got to go, so we'll go ahead and let you close it out here for you.
I'm good. I don't disagree with all that's been said about the need to exchange ideas, but actually I could stick around. I'm hoping that you can get into maybe the precinct results or some campaign finances and kind of drill down in terms of what we think, how this unfolded. This is kind of leaning as a mic bashing ceremony, but I really want to get into the nitty gritty, because we have Sean, we have the former assistant secretary, very insightful people here, Juan Carlos, to talk about what we believe contributed to that. And there are definitely some soft spots that Mike San Nicolas had in terms of vulnerabilities for the electorate to flip in Robert Underwood's favor, and maybe we could talk about that. But other than that, I agree with you, Sean. I think we should have had a debate and we could beat that horse down, and maybe a great debate style exchange in the future, sponsored by, as you put it, the big five. I really don't care who sponsors it. I think we just need to have it, and it needs to be in such a way where there's a free exchange on ideas and rebuttals, but in a way that's responsible. We can learn from the Trump-Biden exchange how to manage that.
Yeah.
We did try to have a debate on KUAM. I sent out the invitations on a Saturday or a Sunday, I can't remember. I got a response the following day from Underwood First, and a press release went out from Underwood. And then I followed up with the congressman, and a press release was issued. So I never really even got a chance to even announce or tell anybody, hey, we were planning on holding a debate. It was like everybody was sending out press releases saying, I agree to participate, and the other person, I disagree, or I don't want to participate, and Congressman Underwood is bullying me. So it was really...
I'm sorry, that is just so hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then,
God.
the following day, that Monday, I said, you know what? We need to do something. And Nestor was actually going to be the host of that debate, the moderator. And I said, you know what? Why don't you message the congressman, both, and they won't do a debate, or if St. Nicholas won't do a debate, let's do a forum. And we'll give them each, 30 minutes, because the debate was going to be, I believe it was an hour or two. And... no response. So we did try.
Let me just say, because I gotta run as well. But debates are healthy. I ran for Congress in 2016, and Ms. Berdalio did not want to debate, or she didn't answer my call for a one-on-one debate. But nevertheless, even with the strength that she had as the incumbent, she did participate in a forum that included myself, her, former Governor Felix Camacho, and then the other candidate running was Margaret Metcalf, and we did that at the University of Guam. And even though it lacked a way to directly address each other as candidates and challenge your policy position or challenge your record for that matter, it was still an opportunity for people to not only attend the debate, which the room was packed with EOG students and others, but also it was broadcasted on the media and allowed the electorate to be able to differentiate between the four candidates, even though it wasn't in a debate style. Debates are healthy for our democracy. I mean, that's just part and parcel basic stuff. And I think candidates have a responsibility to participate in them. I know that there's Senator Castro, mentioned that there's political strategy about, well, if I'm up in the race, I don't need to do a debate, and that is political strategy. Candidates would end up doing that at their own behest, and in this case, Mr. St. Nicholas did it, and there was no price to pay from the electorate, because I guess our electorate is satisfied that they didn't need to hear that differentiation. But I think it's important. I think in a post-analysis environment, maybe we figure out if those are the types of things that energize people and get them out to not only energize the ones who are currently registered to vote, but energize people to participate in the process. Because that's a challenge for the parties every year, is to continue increasing the roles of voters, ensuring that people who are eligible to vote are voting, and to try to have a very high rate of participation in the community. The turnout for the runoff election, I agree with Juan Carlos. Dismal reflection of what I think is a very informed and active electorate in our community. I mean, when we want to go out and vote and rally and everything, we do it. And maybe the pandemic itself took away that spark and that energy, because you can't have a big barbecue or a pocket meeting and get people energized to do things. So. A lot of it, like I said, everyone will try to figure out within the next year, and then everyone will create their new strategy for the next election cycle.
But do you guys really believe that if the congressman would have participated in debate, that people really would have changed their minds? I think we don't know.
We don't know.
I don't think it would have changed their minds. I
think
think people already made up their minds after the general election who won this.
You know, as a political pundit, I cannot fathom why people wouldn't want to have debates. We should, the more the merrier. You know, it gives us, first of all, it gives us a lot to discuss because we now can see the difference between the candidates on specific issues, and when they're facing one another. But we need to acknowledge that this electorate in this election did not weigh that. And in this new social media of getting information and transmitting information, it looks like this newer generation didn't really weigh it a lot. And I think it's a mistake. I think it's something we need to address, but we need to acknowledge that it didn't have the impact that people expected it would.
Right. I think that Congress. Go ahead, Tony.
Good.
Congressman St. Nicholas is really intelligent about limiting his interactions, and I think that he didn't want to do a debate because, and although I agree with Sabrina, I think he's definitely got his base. I mean, he snaps his finger. I think 10,000 people are going to vote for him, but in a debate atmosphere where he cannot control the interaction, he won't benefit from it because I think with it's kind of one way. He sends out these releases, he posts on Facebook, and you can comment back, but what you cannot do is call out any kind of inaccuracy or anything. And we've seen in the interactions that Congressman St. Nicholas can't control that he doesn't have the self-control to remain in these interactions. Like when he called the link, he got mad and hung up. He's done it on other media. So I think that although, he's got his people who are just going to go out and vote for him. I mean, that's to his credit. He definitely, has a huge following. I mean, it shows. This election, they came out, COVID or not, they voted for him. But I think part of that is that mystique is that he doesn't put himself in a situation where he can be questioned, where you can ask a follow-up question. And that's really to his credit because he's built up an image that you just cannot penetrate. You just can't. I mean, we'll ask questions. Joni said it. They went out of their way to invite him. We do the same thing. We send constant emails, text messages, and no response. And not just for campaigns or debates or forums, but for legitimate news stories about him or his office. And so that, I think, is one of his biggest strengths is that he's created this iron curtain that you can't really get into. And the few times that he has exposed himself to, what's normal. I think it's normal for candidates and elected officials to do interviews with the media, to answer. It's totally normal. It's absolutely 1,000% normal. But he just doesn't do that, and it leaves half of the narrative just AWOL.
Yeah, but in the old days, the media, the voter would not allow that to happen. They would be apprised because he wasn't doing those interviews, because he was not communicating.
Right.
The difference now is that they're getting to their base through social media. So they might not be answering those questions to you, but privately, his followers are getting the answers that they need to continue their support. And it's a change that we need to figure out how do we address. But it's interesting to see it's evolving. I'm learning. I still don't know it.
Right.
But it definitely had an impact in Guam in this election.
Right on.
I think. Can I jump in there? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Will.
I think the debates would really bring out a different perspective. I think it may not have the gravitas as the gubernatorial ones, but if you just go back, right? Remember, I don't know if you guys remember the Eddie Calvo debate when that Hanamtaki came out, or even the Reagan debate, or the Kennedy debate, or the Bush debate. All of that, and then you get a lot from nonverbal cues, right? If I was to ask Mr. Underwood about his veterans policy record, right, and drill down in terms of what he did to help Guamanian veterans, I mean, you can see the reactions. Or they ask me why I'm weak on the economy, as an example. You get to see this, and you can't take that back. And you're right. If you're provoked and you react a certain way, you can't take that back. We've seen that with each of the candidates in different forms, but I think it's highlighted and accentuated in a debate where, especially a three-way debate. Do you guys remember when we had that forum with Mike St. Nicholas and next to me was Roy Respicio? It wasn't a debate, but it was a live question and answer when Senator Respicio asked then Senator Rory, would you endorse me? You remember that? I was between those two on the KOM, I don't know, decision 16 or something. And Mike leaned over and said, "No, Senator, I will not endorse you." So those kinds of things can really affect the outcome. Remember that?
Yeah, I
Sabrina?
remember that.
I was like, #awkward. And so the point in these live dynamic situations, you really bring out different parts of people, whether it's their policy or their ability to articulate or one of those dumbfounded moments. I don't know.
Okay. Julian, we'll give you the last word, and then we got to run because you haven't said anything in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I think it's pretty apparent that Mike is most comfortable in an environment where he can just speak without anybody really challenging him, and that is that's something that may be particular to him, but also in general, when you have debates, it does have a chance of harming an incumbent or especially somebody who may be in the lead already in a race. I just wanted to roll back a little bit because somebody was asking whether Mike might continue to say that he's bullied in the future, and my answer is yes, he will, because he's thoughtfully constructed this worldview about who he is and how politics works, where he presents himself as the embattled hero. And so he's very thoughtfully trying to get people to always see him under attack. And so he will constantly raise the idea that somebody's bullying him or that there are forces that are like conspiring against him, and to the extent that that does exist, it's brought upon him by what he's done in the past, and I think he has created people or created a number of individuals who he has personally wronged for no good reason, and over time that may damage him, and he may have won this time, but one day it'll catch up to him.
Thank you, Julian. Juan Carlos, thank you. Senator Will, appreciate your time this morning. Tony, go feed the baby. See you guys.
Bye.
All right. Oh, there you go. Good talk, Bree.
Oh, good talk. Good talk, Chris.
Yeah, it's good. 7:52. We have Administration Director Ed Byrne. We'll go ahead and just go to him because I know he's fly on the wall there. Mr. Byrne, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
Well, what's going on with the Department of Administration?
We're just doing our job here. Our job is week by week keep the government going, and all the people here know that's their duty, know that that's what's expected of them. So that's what we do.
Oh, there's a little bit of a tizzy over the Guam Fire Department and the overtime payments.
Hazardous pay.
Right.
Yes, well, you probably need to speak to Guam Fire Department about that. But the information that I got last Friday shows we've made a big improvement in the overtime submissions that have come from these agencies. As a result of all the discussion, and maybe you can take some credit for this, we're going to make some, and I sent out a memo about 2 weeks ago, we're going to make efforts to make sure that we have overtime reported at the same time as the regular time. So it should no longer, this is going to be in the new calendar year, 2020, 2021. So we're trying to make sure that it's no longer an issue by having it reported at the same time as the regular time, which is the practice in most places.
Are you aware is it just GFD that's having payment issues with overtime or hazardous pay?
So long as departments, and lost my sheets that I was looking at that had the statistics. But so long as departments don't report it contemporaneously, then there will be an issue because you've lost the impetus to pay it. But I don't see any seriously delinquent overtime in the report that I got for the payments that were made by Friday. So, you know, all the efforts we've been making, and I'm glad for the people that are working this overtime, because I know some people are working pretty long hours. I'm glad that we're catching up with this process and making sure that they're appropriately compensated for the overtime they work.
When you say overtime, is that inclusive of like hazardous pay?
That's reported separately and will continue to be reported separately. But again, I don't see any department that's really, I don't know, grossly overdue in their hazard pay reporting.
Mm-hmm. But there are
overtime is for certainly for non-exempt people is governed by certain federal laws. So there are laws that tell us how much we should pay and when we should pay it. Differential pay is governed by the executive order, and we're doing our best to comply with that executive order, but we do rely upon departments to tell us, because we don't know here who is entitled to the differential pay until the departments advise us of each individual's exposure.
Can we move into the bereavement payments?
Yes.
How many have been paid out so far?
We've received 65 claims as of yesterday, and unfortunately, the death toll has been much higher than that in the last few days. And it'll take some time to catch up with that. And we extend our sympathy to those who have lost loved ones. So we've received 65. We've paid out 54. We've got 3 that are going to be paid out today. And we have 4 that were disapproved and 4 that are pending.
Why would the 4 be disapproved?
I'm sorry, but I didn't catch that.
The 4 you said were disapproved. What were the reasons why?
Yes, it's the bereavement pay is accustomed to compensate people who have lost a loved one due to or connected with the COVID-19 virus. Unfortunately, other people lose loved ones for other reasons, but we are not permitted to pay out this bereavement payment to people who are not entitled to it because they succumb to some other illness or condition.
Would this be considered like a fraud? Or?
Well, I thought you might ask me that. I don't really consider it fraud, because sometimes these things, this is a very difficult time for people, and it's not a continuing issue. Unfortunately, it's a single event issue. So I would be very reluctant to call it fraud. I just think that some people, maybe in their very difficult circumstances, feel that they should make this claim. But unfortunately, those very few people were not determined not to be entitled to it.
Okay. Are you also cutting the checks for the GITA program?
Yes, we cut the checks. They present the conclusions of their review to us. They give us a list and we cut the checks.
And how many checks have you cut?
We're up to about, I think we're over 14 million. I couldn't tell you the number of checks, but we're something over 14 million. And we generally get 2 or 3 very small batches from GIDA in the last few weeks. You know, the first batches were pretty big. The last few batches have been pretty small. So it doesn't take us long to process those. I mean, the last batch had one payment in it. So I can only assume that that program is winding down, and that we've reached the limit of the amount that we're going to pay out.
Right, and this is for the tier 2, tier 1 clinics. Is that correct?
No. This is for the businesses that are suffering a reduction in their, it's kind of like business interruption, a reduction in their activity as a result of the closures occasioned by the coronavirus. Okay. The tier 2 clinics, that program is just started, and I got the first batch at about 6:30 this morning, and I haven't had the opportunity to look at it.
Okay, and that's the first batch for payment.
Yes,
right.
That's correct.
Okay, and you can't tell us like how many.
No, just by eyeballing, I didn't have time to look at it before I logged on to you, but it looks like about 7 or 8.
Okay. And where's the funding? What's the funding source for the bereavement payments and these tier 2, tier 1 clinics?
Both payments come from the coronavirus relief funds.
Okay, the CARES Act.
As you know, those funds were a one-off payment. We have to pay out everything by December 30th. We're all working pretty hard to do that. The bereavement payment, we started off with a budget of 750,000, but unfortunately we had to increase it to $1 million because of the number of fatalities we've had, and we're obviously going to have to increase it again because I think we just had the 100th fatality being reported last night. Mm-hmm. So we'll take a look at it, and obviously we're going to increase the amount that is going to be budgeted for this payment.
I do have just a couple more questions, but we have to cut out of our television broadcast because we are running up at the top of the
stand
hour.
by it's 8:02. We're KUAM FM in Hagåtña, Guam. To our viewers on KUAM TV, a lot of great programming coming up, but you can continue this interview and the show with the link on the breeze by jumping over to our KUAM News Facebook live feed or right here on the radio, 93.9 FM, KUAM TV. My name's Chris.
I'm Sabrina.
Esta Hedges. We're back with Ed Byrne and Sabrina Salas-Mentanani, as you were.
Mr. Byrne, I wanted to follow up on the $117 million in CARES Act that we received. How much do we still have left?
You will learn that today. Yesterday, we submitted to the governor's office the report as of October the 31st. And it's their responsibility under the public law to put it on the website. So assuming that everybody's satisfied with the numbers, that will be posted today.
Okay, so again, how much do we have?
Well, I'm gonna wait for the governor's office to release that information because it's actually under the law. It's their responsibility.
I mean, I've asked you in the past for a breakdown, and you were able to provide it. Were you told not to provide it anymore?
In the past, you've asked me when it had already been released.
Okay, how much has been spent?
the whole thing will be made clear when it gets released today. And if you want to come back to me and ask me questions about it when it's been released, I'd be happy to respond to them.
Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, I don't think it's much to ask for transparency. I think we're done. Thank you, Mr. Byrne.
Thank you.
Okay, what happened there?
We have to wait for the governor's office to give us a breakdown on how much money has been spent from the $118 million CARES Act funds.
Okay. Well, it's 8:05. Again, we're KUAM FM, Agatnia, Guam. We're going to take a quick break, and we're coming back with more of The Link right here on The Breeze 93.9.
The holidays are almost here, and we could all use an extra dose of cheer and joy this year. So, we're breaking the rules and giving you a holiday head start on Breeze 93.9 FM. Throughout the months of October and November, listen to the special holiday head start blocks of all the season's favorites from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. and again from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Let's try to make spirits bright and make this the most wonderful time of the year. Happy holidays from Breeze. Holiday Head Start is brought to you by Mariana's Coating, specializing in roof repair and more. Call 483-3967 for more information. The Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace is kicking off on Sunday, November 29th, showcasing local vendors, crafts, and gift-giving ideas to get your holiday shopping season going. Watch our Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace special on Sunday, November 29th on KUAM TV 8 and Facebook Live with lots of interactive features and giveaways. Then find all the vendors featured on KUAMChristmasPops.com. The program will be encore through December on demand and on the stations of KUAM Communications. There is still time to become a vendor. Visit KUAM.com or email BettyAnn@KUAM.com to find out how. On November 29th, let's check off Christmas lists and support our local economy while doing it. The Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace is presented by Stroll Courier. Get all your packages, documents, and gifts delivered island-wide. Visit strollguam.com/courier and book a delivery today. And Domino's. Visit Domino's.gu for faster, easier online ordering.
Today, the KUAM Care Force is calling upon our island community to come together for Giving Tuesday on December 1st for a safe way to help take care of our island family.
On Tuesday, December 1st, stop through our parking lot in Harmon for our donation drive-through.
We're helping the Salvation Army's holiday campaign. You can drop off your non-perishable food items and gifts for kids and teens to our curbside attendants so we can help ensure your safety.
We'll have holiday entertainment while you wait, refreshments, and other goodies for donors.
And the Link will be live on location.
So you can be part of the show.
It's all happening between 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Let's get together and show the world that Guam can still come together for good on Giving Tuesday.
You're watching The Link.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. Uproar Race to 21 Challenge. 2020 is 1 year we can't wait to put in the rearview mirror. So lace up, get ready, set, and run to 21 with the Guam Rona Challenge. Join the virtual challenge starting now through December 31st. Go at your own pace and select from 100, 2, or the 300-mile challenge. To register, visit runtochallenge.com. Special thanks to KUAM Communications, Trench Challenge, and Kill Cliff. This is an Uproar event. Proceeds benefit the Special Olympics Guam. Thrive, a coalition for a drug-free Dededo, is an active partnership of community members and leaders committed to a vibrant, resilient, and empowered Dededo. It takes a village to raise healthy and drug-free youth. Thrive with us. Find us online or email thrive@westcare.com.
We got your 6.
At 6 a.m. with the link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6.
Hafa-day and Mabuhay, I'm Ann Pobutsky. I'm the Territorial Epidemiologist for Guam. Wearing a face covering protects you and those around you. We know that COVID-19 can be spread by people who are not showing symptoms, which means they are asymptomatic. Because Guam remains at risk for significant community spread or transmission of the virus, it is a necessary precaution to wear a face covering when you are in public. Everyone must wear a face covering when they leave home, have it visible at all times, and put it on when they see others nearby. Face coverings are required for everyone when shopping at stores, seeking healthcare, and inside the workplace. Covering your face reduces the chance that you will unknowingly infect someone else if you are carrying COVID-19 but have no symptoms. Prevention saves lives. For more information, please call 311 or visit our website at dphss.guam.gov.
No. True. Yep. 8:13. The link on the Breeze 93.9. Let's just jump right into the KUAM News Zoom room where we have from the Guam Peace Project, Dr. Christiana Whitman out of Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for having me on again.
Of course, our pleasure. So we're bringing you on because you're doing a part 2 of this lunch hour webinar with the Peace Office. And if you could, we'll just get right into it because I know we both got a lot of things to do before that. So this is something that people can kind of tune in. And the topic for today's lunch hour is a healthy relationship with social media, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, prevention and training has historically, out of Guam Behavioral Health, has historically kind of gone out into the community and done a lot of outreach. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we're not able to do traditional outreach the way we would like, and we hope to do soon again, but we've tried to institute these monthly lunch hours. So today's is focused on a healthy relationship with social media. And thank you. We'll be joined by an esteemed panel. Chris Barnett is one of them.
Very esteemed, the most esteemed ever.
So thanks for being on. Dr. Mary Fegger, who's our clinical psychologist at Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, will be really leading us through some of the ways we can maybe healthily, get through social media, and also some of the things she's seen in some of her clients in terms of social media impacts. And then we actually have Livia Moratzi, who's the founder of Ina Wellness Collective, and you might have seen their information pop up on the internet. She interestingly moved back home and started a business during this pandemic. So she's going to have like a little bit of an interesting, take on the entire on social media and her perspective. So we're excited to talk with you all about it and just kind of lead our community through some guidance in dealing with all of this.
Right. It's definitely a diverse panel. And if you could, maybe just let's talk a little bit about the office you're with and the how you guys have, and I know we've talked about this before, how you guys have shifted your efforts to a lot of virtual and online things because, with the pandemic, can't necessarily go out there and knock on doors and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So specifically for PEACE, the prevention and training branch, we have tried to do, this is one of our kind of community outreach efforts. We still have the suicide prevention online trainings that we're able to offer. Our community is, which I spoke about with you in September, but if anyone is interested in those, people can reach me at staff@peaceguam.org, and I can make sure Jason has that information so he can put it in the KUAM chat box or message board. But yeah, we do have, those are kind of the online offerings we have. And then I'm actually, and my team has been having a little bit more outreach in terms of smaller groups, talking with businesses or, the church has reached out to us to do small talks. We spoke with the OG residence halls last week just to kind of give them some tips on, ways to get through this whole thing. So we're still trying to, be here and have presence in the community. We definitely don't want anyone to think that we're not available to them. So that's, yeah.
I think this is a really cool topic, a healthy relationship with social media, because, during the pandemic, social media has been kind of like everything for a lot of people, especially staying home. There's not much to do other than to cruise, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, and everyone deals with it differently. And I think, I personally had to take a little bit of a break a couple months ago, just because it was kind of like media overload, and I just kind of needed to, control that. And then, everything has really transferred, into online presence. You're doing everything online. You're working, you're going to school, you're connecting with friends, and it just can really be a lot. It'll be an interesting talk. I think, it's an hour. We hope that this extends the conversation. I mean, that's always our hope, is that we start with prevention and we start with kind of initiating the conversation, and hopefully we take whatever is gained through that 1 hour back to our homes and share whatever tips and ways of dealing with it back to our individual families.
Right. So we put the link up in the comments, and then I'll share it on my social media. But again, it starts at 12, and then it goes for an hour. And we've got a bunch of panelists, and people are going to be able to ask questions and all that stuff too, right?
Yes, absolutely. There will be a question and answer piece, and we have, like I said, we have three people from different walks of life, right? And so different perspectives on the relationship with social media and how to get through it. But yeah, it is free. It's available. If you can't access it at this time, don't get discouraged. We will be recording it, and if you contact us, we can get that to you after it's completed. It won't be live streamed anywhere, though, just because we are Guam Behavioral Health. We want to protect the people who also are there, so we want to make sure they feel like it's a safe space, at least for that hour. And then, but we will have it available to the community if you're not able to log on today.
Okay, thanks, Doc, and I'll see you at 12.
Absolutely. I'll see you at noon, and I hope I see a lot of other people from the community there as well.
Me too. We'll put out the call. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Stay
Have
safe.
a good day. Thank you.
Okay. 8:18. We'll take a really quick break, and we have Superintendent John Fernandez of the Guam Department of Education coming up next, right here on The Link. It's The Breeze, 93.9. Good morning, Guam.
The Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace is kicking off on Sunday, November 29th, showcasing local vendors, crafts, and gift-giving ideas to get your holiday shopping season going. Watch our Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace special on Sunday, November 29th on KUAM TV 8 and Facebook Live with lots of interactive features and giveaways. Then find all the vendors featured on KUAMChristmasPops.com. The program will be encore through December on demand and on the stations of KUAM Communications. There is still time to become a vendor. Visit KUAM.com or email BettyAnn@KUAM.com to find out how. On November 29th, let's check off Christmas lists and support our local economy while doing it. The Christmas Pops Virtual Marketplace is presented by Stroll Courier. Get all your packages, documents, and gifts delivered island-wide. Visit strollguam.com/courier and book a delivery today. And Domino's. Visit domino's.gu for faster, easier online ordering.
Today, the KUAM Care Force is calling upon our island community to come together for Giving Tuesday on December 1st for a safe way to help take care of our island family.
On Tuesday, December 1st, stop through our parking lot in Harmon for our donation drive-through.
We're helping the Salvation Army's holiday campaign. You can drop off your non-perishable food items and gifts for kids and teens to our curbside attendants so we can help ensure your safety.
We'll have holiday entertainment while you wait, refreshments, and other goodies for donors.
And the link will be live on location.
So you can be part of the show.
It's all happening between 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Let's get together and show the world that Guam can still come together for good on Giving Tuesday.
Thrive, a coalition for a drug-free Dededo, is an active partnership of community members and leaders committed to a vibrant, resilient, and empowered Dededo. It takes a village to raise healthy and drug-free youth. Thrive with us. Find us online or email thrive@westcare.com. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Our frontliners have been working tirelessly to keep us safe, and now they need your help to get our island back up and running as safely as possible. Did you know your smartphone can be one of the most powerful tools in our fight against COVID-19? That's why we're bringing you the Guam COVID Alert Exposure Notification app. This app works by letting you know if you've been exposed to someone who's positive. It's completely voluntary, and more importantly, it's completely anonymous. It does not track who you are or your location. Researchers at Oxford University have found that for every 100 to 200 downloads of the app, it can prevent 100 infections and save one life. Add your phone to the COVID fight by going to guamcovidalert.guam.gov or download it from the App Store or Google Play now. Help Guam stop COVID-19.
Off the day, everybody. Welcome back to the link. We're going to head straight into our Zoom room to get our progress report from Superintendent John Fernandez. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Bree, and good morning, Chris. I see what you did there with our progress report. So.
I'm loving the wordplay. I'm guessing that English was your best subject, Bree.
Yeah, that was good. But no, I mean, we're happy to come on and every week and try to give updates to the community. It was really strange. We talked with our management team. We've been to a couple of parent stakeholder meetings, and then we turned around and said, is there a way to be too transparent? Because we've been going and talking, with the media, with our parents, with our stakeholders as much as we can, because it's just such an important decision. So, again, we're still in the mode of planning for potential reopening, and we are still targeting January just as a date that we can work backwards from to make sure that everything is in place in the event that we're able to open. But most importantly, we try to make sure in these, especially in these parent outreach meetings that we're doing this week, we've been through 2 of them and we have 3 more to go. We wanted to make sure that the message got out there clearly, so if you're out there talking to fellow parents, other teachers, other, members of the community, the message is that we are preparing because we need to be ready to go whenever it is safe to do so. But ultimately, it has to be safe enough in the community to be able to go back. And every day we track the numbers that are coming out of the Joint Information Center. And every day we plug them into our dashboard to see where we are on the high risk scale. And we are still, off the charts in terms of being in the highest risk category for new cases and because of and due to the positivity rate. And so even if we see maybe a couple of days where the numbers seem a little lower than before, the dashboard that we look at takes a look at the past 2 weeks to make sure we're not just making decisions based on one day we're up, one day we're down, but how are we doing over a 14-day period? And that comes from the guidance from the Centers for Disease Control in terms of how they look at the data as well. So we're tracking that. We're trying to make sure that we don't do anything drastically different from the CAR score that was recently released. We're trying to make sure we're kind of in the same direction in terms of the types of information we push out there. But ultimately, we told our stakeholders that the first thing we look at is that the safety dashboard. Are we in a position as a community to open? Hopefully, we can be in that lower to lowest risk category before we start to say, okay, now how are we going to bring back our teachers and students for face-to-face instruction? So, we have about less than a month to go before we make a final decision about next semester, and we'll be monitoring the situation. But as I said last week, it's kind of tough to be talking about reopening when the numbers are going in the wrong direction. And I know that last week's numbers were really driven by a couple of those situations at the barracks. And so we understand that was a real jump in the numbers and may not be reflective of the entire community, but it certainly didn't do us any good, because when you take a look at the big picture, we were still in a high risk situation without the barracks, situation. So again, we're in constant communication with the governor's office. Lieutenant Governor meets with me weekly, and so yesterday we met with the public health team just to go over what we're doing and how we're preparing. And again, I think we're on the same page that we are targeting we want our kids back at some point, but it really is going to depend on our ability to have the overall community health situation in a better state. So again, we just kind of join everybody in encouraging the proper mask wearing and try to stay home as much as possible and try to limit and prevent the further spread of COVID-19. But alongside that, at the same time, we always have to plan. We don't there's no way that if things get better and the governor says go ahead and open, we're not going to be able to turn around in a couple of days and get open if we haven't put everything in place. So we meet frequently as planning committees. This week we are having our stakeholder meetings on Zoom and on Facebook Live every evening this week at 5:30 p.m. and we go for about an hour and a half. And we make a short presentation probably for the first 20 to 30 minutes, and then the rest of it is really dedicated to answering questions and concerns. In fact, we have a couple of my deputies have created something called the after party. So after the Zoom meetings are done, they stay on for about 15 minutes afterwards for anyone who might have felt shy about asking questions in front of everybody else. So we welcome everybody to join that after party and ask any questions that they felt still needed to be answered. So we'll be doing that, and we welcome, we're doing it by region, and then on Friday it's a dedicated session for our families of kids with disabilities. But we welcome anybody to join. It's the same link, for every day. We had just divided it up by region, and then for our special education families. But you're welcome. Everyone's welcome to join, or you can watch it later on Facebook Live. There are some developments, and I think as part of the preparation, I think it's always come up the issue about technology. pushing out the technology and so forth. So as of today, we're getting closer to about 4,000 applications for laptops. So we're going to continue to push laptops out. Remember, we were targeting, thinking it might be around 8,000. And that number came in lower for our secondary students. So we're pushing it to about 4,000 applications, as of this week. And we'll continue to make that outreach. But we also have communicated, so this is for all of our elementary school parents, the instructions have gone out to all of our elementary schools to begin the distribution and collection of applications for laptops for our younger children, our elementary school children, even though we don't expect those to come until maybe late December, in time for second semester. We're in the process of going ahead and getting those applications in so that once those those pieces are delivered and distributed, we can get them out to the kids. So if you're a parent in the elementary school and you've been watching us and saying, hey, why are they giving it out to secondary students and they have all these extra laptops? Are we going to do elementary? The answer is yes. Please contact your school if you haven't been contacted already. They are preparing to send out the applications, turn it in and request for that support. And then within a month's time, we should hear more about the timing for distribution of the laptops. With regard to the internet, we've been working on this with the governor's office. We are, I think, maybe a couple sentences away from being completely done with the procurement documents. So, we wanted to be ready to go when we got the final approval and the drawdown of the funds from US DOE to the governor's office. So we're in a good position with regard to getting ready to publish a solicitation so that vendors can compete to offer those services. But we still need to await the money to be drawn down by our by the front office so that we can issue that procurement. So we're working with them to get that out there, and we've been targeting to get that done and by the end of this calendar year. So that's still our goal. I think, and then the other thing to look forward to is that we did talk about this idea of community learning centers. So in addition to getting laptops out and trying to help those who require home internet access, we also wanted to provide a support at the school sites by helping to upgrade the internet in certain parts of the school, like the cafeterias, the libraries, the gyms, even in certain schools, the parking lots, and to put the necessary equipment in, including laptops to be available, printers to be available for those students who were able to make use of that type of support, which is basically kind of an after hours support at the school. We would open the school, open these facilities, provide a couple of personnel to help supervise, and then those who would be interested, want to welcome them to come to these community learning centers near their homes and be able to make use of those supports. So our intent is, by the end of December, we're looking at opening 5 to 10 of them as our first phase. We have to go to public health to ensure that, whatever the safety requirements are that need to be in place are in place. But we've got about 5 to 10 sites around the island that are eager to open and provide that support. And then we want to see if that's something that the community will make use of before we go further. So those are the kind of the updates on expanding access to technology and the internet. When we come back if we come back in January, we still plan to offer, the 3 models of learning, especially if we're able to do face-to-face. So all 3, we would seek to keep implementing, and we still plan to give the parents the choice. So we're not going to say, hey, you got to go no matter what. I think at this point, the intent is to allow them to register for the model that they prefer, see where we are with the numbers of registrations that come in. And then if we're able to do so in January, offer all 3 models of learning. I know that earlier we floated this idea of ending or phasing out the hard copy model. And I just want everyone to know, because we got a lot of feedback from that. People say, no, you got to keep this. We like it. We like the way it works. So we recognize that there are strengths to the hard copy model of learning, but there are also many challenges in terms of the distribution, the collection, the lack of frequent teacher interaction and so forth. So I think the decision that we've made is that at some point we do plan to phase it out, but we don't plan to do so immediately. I think we want to focus on expanding our online option. Let's go through the school year and see, what we can do to make sure that the technology support is in place, and then see what we can learn from the hard copy model in terms of its strengths, so we can incorporate that into the online platform before we talk about phasing it out. But again, we told our parents the last couple of days, don't worry, we're not going to tell you on a Friday that Monday is we're going to be shutting it down and you're going to have to go online. It'll be a longer process than that. And so I just wanted to reassure those families I didn't expect so much blowback, but we got a lot of concerns out there. Some of it was related to internet access. I don't have a laptop, and we understand that. So that's why we're focused on that. But others were like, well, we just need it. Good valid points. Someone said we have a kindergarteners. We like them to be on hard copy materials. We have students who want to practice their writing, so we need hard copy. So there are things that we need to think about, maintaining. But at the end of the day, we do think that we will end up eventually being on either online or face-to-face model. But that's not going to happen in January. So just ask our parents to just kind of keep monitoring it with us. But we'll make those announcements much later when it comes time to have that discussion. Right. So I can stop there and answer any questions you guys have about where we are.
We had the Lieutenant Governor on yesterday, actually, and he mentioned this $8 million in U.S. Department of Education funding to go to these expanded community learning centers to provide internet access. But he also mentioned subsidies. Do you have any idea if you could explain that a little bit more about these subsidies?
So in addition to the community learning centers, I think, let me just clarify that DOE, is working on our school facilities as those community learning centers, but there was also interest in coordinating with the governor because of the community centers that DYA has, the libraries and other entities that could serve as well as the same kind of resource in the community. So we've been working to make sure we kind of plan together and, try to offer the same level of support. So they do plan to do that on their side with those government agencies and potentially with the mayor's offices or facilities as well. We're kind of working with them to see what their needs are. But with regard to the home internet access, what we plan to do is basically solicit, proposals or solicit offers to provide internet access at home. We believe it'll likely be those devices, your kind of hotspot devices that you can have at home that will help connect maybe 4 or 5 users at a time. I've heard up to 10 users at a time, but it should be able to serve a normal household. And then those devices would they normally come at a monthly subscription price. So for those families who are eligible and receive that device, the funding that's been set aside will be going to pay directly for those services. So again, it won't be for handing it out to just every family, at least for DOE. What we plan to do is we do want to set some parameters for those who are definitely in need. And so we are looking at for those who are already participating in some of those programs that exist like SNAP and so forth will be eligible. And obviously if we have enough, we will definitely work to push those out. So we don't, that's our plan. I think for the private schools and charter schools who are able to also avail themselves of the same, supports, they can set their own criteria for how they distribute those devices as well. I just want to say something that we had to kind of decide on, might be bad news for some of our families who were looking forward to this, is that as part of this, we are, it's not going to be one of those devices that you get and now you can just access everything on the internet, right? So obviously we want to put in filters to make sure that you're not able to, access inappropriate sites. And then, of course, we also are not going to be able to utilize these for Netflix streaming and things like that. That will just kind of use up all your data, and then you can't get your work done, right? So we did have to make some hard decisions. I mean, I want our kids to know I pushed very hard to ask our team whether there was anything educational that we could argue for regarding Netflix or Hulu, and they said, well, probably not a good idea to open that box. So, so that should really help ensure that, with the limited resources, we're not just having it go out there to be used for purposes for which it wasn't intended. And that'll help us with USDOE to show that these resources are going where they need to be going.
Yeah, John, it's Jason. And first of all, kudos to you. I mean, that is an amazing concept that you're doing, and your collaboration with your federal counterpart and with the governor's office and everything like that. As someone who has dedicated his life to working to help people get the most out of technology, I mean, it's always irked me how the internet and access to online resources has always been either this, in the early days, it was like this haven for those of us who would be nerds just to like hang out, and then it became this big luxury item and this commodity that only, people of means could afford. But I mean, it truly has become, and brought forth by the pandemic, it really is utility now, just as important as water and power. And I was going to say, when you said that thing about like Netflix, if you just hold your ear up and everything, and maybe just listen outside your house, you heard like about 10,000 kids be like, "Oh man!" but that is a fantastic idea. I think the fact that you are working to deploy internet, and that's going to be my question in a sec, but you're doing this, and you're doing this for families that typically could not afford that. You're doing that at no cost to them, and you're also applying quality measures to make sure that kids use it the right way, and we're not just giving kids free reign bandwidth on a broadband level is fantastic. But I wanted to ask you, you were mentioning the fact that there are between 5 to 10 of these learning centers that you're looking at right now. Are you at liberty to break down exactly how those sites will be chosen? Are they by particular schools based on large population, or is it regional, or is it at the village level?
We'll finalize, those details and announce it when we're ready. But really, what we're looking at is there are some schools out there that are just raring to go. So it's one of those situations where some schools say, hey, we need additional upgrades and lighting and equipment before we can open up. And there are some schools that say, hey, we're ready whenever you call. So we're trying to finalize that list. We're still working with the schools, but we believe that just based on our last meetings, there are about 5 to 10 who are saying, hey, if you got to open, we're ready, we're able, we're willing to go. And, obviously we're going to try to make sure we have coverage, in various parts of the island. Eventually we will, when we expand to the full, the full network of these learning centers. But right now it's one of those things where we have schools who are willing to pilot and go out there and open up to see if this is actually a viable concept. I guess the idea is, if nobody comes, let's not go ahead and start to open up the rest of them unless there's, we can establish demand. Otherwise, we're just, opening the facilities and we find that it's not going to be of use. Then we don't want to, over do it with opening multiple sites. We can concentrate them where there is demand, and if not, work to see what other solutions might be more appropriate.
Yeah, but the fact that you have now, decentralized the ability for kids to have access to technology, both on a hardware and the infrastructure level, I mean, that's such a huge step forward for public education on Guam and everything like that. So as someone who really loves tech, I can't thank you enough. That's a massive, massive win for GDOE and for Guam in general.
Well, I think you guys have touched on this overall theme here, really, which is this: the pandemic has really shown a light. It's shown a light on a lot of the issues of access to services, inequity in the distribution of services. And so when it comes to the internet, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to transportation, when it comes to food support, we're seeing that in the community, right? We put together a plan to try to address as many as possible. But then after you do that, people say, well, what about this? We've got a whole area, a whole pocket of a village where there's just no, we don't have the running water, we don't have the transportation. How are you going to provide a support that's going to tailor it? So you're right. I mean, there's a lot of things that are coming to light, especially because of the pandemic. And a lot of those issues relate to some of the basic supports that we need to provide to families. So that's absolutely true.
Okay, I do have one more question. I know Bree's got a couple, but I wanted to ask something I didn't unfortunately get the time to ask you last week, but maybe thinking of a best case scenario, as you were kind of alluding to last week, if we do have that return at some point to face-to-face learning, is there possibly an opportunity where you'll be augmenting the faculty with it? Will you be calling back like more substitute teachers, or will there be a open call to actually have more subs? Because I'm just thinking, with teachers maybe in the public school system having maybe a 1 to 25, 1 to 30 ratio, And with a lot of teachers admittedly being parents themselves, there are going to be those cases, especially with the pandemic still being around, where, oh, maybe I'm a little hoarse or I have a scratchy throat. I don't want to take the risk of infecting my students, or, I want to do the smart thing. So you'll have a lot of teachers who may not be able to show up for, maybe 2 or 3 days, whereas normally you just take like one sick day and then you're good. So I would assume the need for substitute teachers would be big, and certainly this is something you've considered.
Yeah, so when you I did say that I'd be willing to answer that question, but the only answer I have right now is that it's absolutely one of those things that we're kind of struggling with to make sure we have make a decision about how to handle the issues. So I guess what I would say further along those lines is, when we were in July, remember we were doing this reopening, this planning process as well.
Sure.
But remember back then, the numbers were so low. We were in a low single-digit positivity rates. The numbers were coming in very, it's just small, minuscule numbers of new cases. So when we were heading into the potential opening of the school year, most of the focus and most of the questions and concerns were about operations, right? How is the buses going to work? Are they going to get face masks and some of those basic, supply type of discussions? Now that we're having this discussion heading into a potential, January date, a lot of the issues coming up are now personnel issues, right? How much leave can someone take when they get infected? How is contact tracing going to work? When will schools be shut down? How many teachers are actually going to be willing to come back in this environment? Back in July was different, and back in July we still had about 40% of our families wanting to go face to face. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how many families feel comfortable today in sending their kids back, as early as January. And then when we look to the teachers and the staff, I know there are going to be concerns there because we're already hearing it as part of our discussions. I'm in a high risk situation. I live with my mother who is older and sickly. So many different scenarios where teachers are already starting to think about, what types of leeway, flexibility, accommodations will there be already, much less when when somebody has to unexpectedly not be able to conduct class, right? So already from the beginning, there's this question about, what are we going to do if our teachers don't feel comfortable returning and they have valid reasons? And so right now we're in the middle of, it's really been amazing because I think most of our efforts right now are focused on the personnel issues. How do we deal with our workforce for whom we want to be understanding and accommodating, and we can deal with normally on a case-by-case basis? But if it's a very large group, majority or so of the teachers who feel this way, how do we manage that? Because like you said, if we need to be face-to-face, we're going to have a teacher in the classroom. And just getting them back, and figuring out how to support them with substitutes in case, things happen at the school. That's something we're working through right now because, again, it's just amazing how you can take the discussion from a few months ago to today, and nobody asks about operations anymore. They understand, you got face masks, you got temperature scans, you got social distancing, cleaning supplies. But, will people have to take leave when they get sick? Because, some of us have already gone through that situation. Will there be substitutes? What about for the online, platform and so forth? So it's actually, that's probably a more complex set of issues that we have to deal with. So we're working on it. And again, we have about 3 more weeks to kind of solidify our recommendations and then let people know how we're going to operate.
And for those students who are really concerned, and they've always been, they always shoot for perfect attendance and everything like that, you're going to make sure that those kids can hopefully, if you can't make it face to face, then they can still go to school online. So, your perfect attendance record, kids, will be intact. The soup said so.
Absolutely. And again, we don't know how many of those kids feel comfortable going back to school. And we certainly wanted our parents to have the first say, let us know how many of you feel comfortable first before we start planning for face-to-face. I just can't see a scenario in which we say to a parent, you're going no matter what. You're going back to the school facility, whether you feel confident or not, because, as a parent myself, you got to make that determination. Am I going to put my kids at risk, not feeling safe? Or am I just going to defy this requirement and keep them home? And so we have a lot of parents in that situation. And our effort right now is just to kind of offer the information, let them know how we're going through this discussion, this decision-making process, let them know how we're monitoring the safety and health situation and how we plan to mitigate those risks should their kids return to school. I don't envision, returning everybody to school. Definitely, if we do go back face to face, it's going to be, a much lower numbers, like we were talking about back in August, much lower numbers on a day-to-day basis. That'll help us to, allow for social distancing, practice, safe hygiene, wear the face mask. It's not going to be, what you would normally envision as a regular school day. So we haven't gotten to that point yet, but we plan to, keep preparing and planning so that when that day comes, we're ready to go.
All right. Thanks, John.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on the stakeholder meetings. I know that they continue today, as you mentioned earlier, at 5:30. But you also mentioned that 2 stakeholder meetings have already been held for Lagu and the Lutsen districts. Based on those stakeholder meetings that you had, what were some of the concerns and maybe even suggestions that were brought up?
Well, I think we were successful in just communicating, first of all, that this is not a decision that has already been made, and it's not a decision that is going to be made without consideration for the overall safety. I think that was something we just let off with that and said, please, let's help get this message out to all of because that's what we normally hear. How dare you say we're going back in January when the numbers are going high? And said, that's not what we're saying. There were a lot of, there were some questions, a lot, just to kind of go back to the operations side, where they were asking a lot about making sure that every school was prepared and had their plans in place versus this district wide. Hey, this is how it's going to be at every school. They wanted to make sure that we were looking at the details for every school. The different types of schools that we have out there. They all have different risks or layouts. So that we had some questions about will every school be prepared? Will every school have the supplies? What about, we had a question about Simon Sanchez in particular. If there's a school with no circulation, air circulation, what extra, measures are you going to take? So we were able to focus in on some of the school, particular school areas that people cared about. But a lot had to do also with the models of learning. I think we could really tell that parents were really, think grateful that they're still going to have the option, and really were in the, I think in the midst of, considering where they might want to their kids to be in January under the current circumstances. So we had a lot of questions about, hey, I registered for face-to-face back in August, and I know we can't do it, but is there any way I can change that just in case I want to change that? I said, we said we let them know that we're not going to take the old data and just apply it to the new, to January. What we want to do is re-register, just get everybody back. If you want to stay in your current model of learning, you can stay. If not, make sure you affirm those decisions again, or make those decisions known through our registration process, so that, if you said face-to-face, but now you just don't feel so sure, we're not going to force you to stick to your, original decision back in July when things looked much different from where we were today. So I think we had a lot of discussion about that, a lot of discussion about the hard copy model of learning and having that continue, discussion about the technology and the timing of that. So it really seemed like that people had heard enough about the actual safety and practices that we're planning for GDOE, and we're kind of looking at the models of learning and their options, should we decide to reopen. So again, that's the message to our parents. We are still